Hey there, YouTube fans. It's Mike Palumbo again. Got another great video for you, and it's a continuation of the last video I did. I don't want to do too many political videos, but I got some calls on the other one, and I really didn't fully brief the reason why I believe my prediction is Trump is going to win a landslide. A couple of my friends called me like, you really didn't, I mean, is that it? Because people don't like de Blasio, and people are like, no, there's more. But see, what happens is I meander sometimes. I start talking, I start meandering. I'm a meanderer when I talk, and most time I come full circle. But this time I didn't. The circle was left open. There was an arc. I didn't realize it. So I'm going to brief full in why I think Trump is gonna win in a landslide, and I'm going to make another outlandish and wild prediction about the election. Okay, and to fill in from the last video, which I didn't say, I allude to the fact that people in New York, and part of my prediction was that Trump's going to take New York, which is again, a wild, really an out there prediction. And I mentioned that part of the reason was people are fed up. The Democrats are fed up. Everyone's fed up with de Blasio, especially Cuomo. Not so much, but a lot of people are fed up with him. And I just kind of left it at that. And the reason why that's relevant is I think that the Democrats are not going to get the turnout that they need, that they would like for Biden, because of the negativity towards their own party, especially in New York City. So I think it's going to affect the turnout. So that was the reason why I was saying, that they're fed up with de Blasio and fed up with Cuomo. Now, and if you don't get a turnout, every one of you people that doesn't vote, so say you want Trump as president, but you're not going to vote because you're just too lazy to go vote, or you're going to absentee ballot, right? That's a half a vote for Biden. Understand that. By not voting, look, maybe you just don't have an opinion. Maybe you just don't want to vote because you can't stand either one of them. That's sort of a vote, But most people have an opinion who they think is better. And if your pick is Biden and you just don't go to the polls or get an absentee ballot and vote, well, guess what? You just give half a vote to Trump. Okay, that's the effect of not voting. Okay, you're giving half a vote to the other side. Now, excuse me. Another reason why I believe Trump's going to win a landslide is because Biden is their nominee. Okay, and Biden has always been a moderate and a centrist. Whether you agree with his politics or not, he's a moderate and he's more of a centrist. Okay, he's not a leftist. He's not a socialist. He's not to the left side of the Democratic Party. Okay, he's not. He's more of just, your meat and potatoes, union type Democrat, working guy. He's not the kind of person that's going to excite a radical base. And I say radical, just meaning like in a radical, radical from what we are today as a constitution, as a nation. Again, anything I'm saying is not an endorsement or criticism of anything. It's just an analysis. Now, had the Democratic base wanted someone more left, they had a virtual smorgasbord, a cornucopia of options to choose from. They had Harris, they had Cory Booker, they had O'Rourke, they had Sanders, they had Pete Buttigieg, who actually I think is a very interesting guy. I actually like him. I'm glad he didn't win the primary. He's 37 or 38. I would like to. I'm following his career. I like what I see in him. But I'm glad he didn't win because I think he needs more experience. I'd like to see him become a governor or something, or some other type of county executive, and get more executive experience before he runs for president. He's only 37, 38. So he can in 10 years run and still be a young president. It's not like, I just thought he was inexperienced for the job at hand. So, but he seems like a pretty rational guy and a decent manager and leader. So they could have picked, but I think he was even left of Biden. The Democratic base could have picked any of these guys, but they picked Biden. And Biden, look, he's past his prime, and he's probably got dementia. I'm not saying that to criticize him. I'm just saying to point out they picked a very weak candidate, the Democrats, because and that's, they're transmitting to you, look, we don't believe with this, the left wing of the Democratic Party, the people that are trying to pull us left. You know, we're not into that. We're into this, okay? So now, what does Biden do? You know, he goes hard left. Once he gets the nomination, he goes hard left, which is the opposite of what you should do if you want to become president. In a primary, you gotta appeal to the base, and then you gotta come centrist to get the swing voters to vote for you. You know, without alienating, you know, the people that you appeal to get the nomination. He did the opposite. You know, he didn't pretend he was a leftist and then swang back to where he really was. He told you what he was. He got the nomination, and now he's being influenced by the extreme left of his party. You know, he's playing identity politics. Kamala Harris is not a strong vice president candidate. I don't think she's I think she's done a lot of harm as district attorney in San Francisco. I mean, look, he could have picked Cory Booker. You know, would have been a better alternative. You know, he ran a major city. He's actually, you know, he might be left, very left still, but he's you know, he's a proven executive and an administrator. You know, the first thing he did, I'm going to pick a woman. I'm going to pick a woman, and then, you know, he picks Kamala Harris. You know, who's extreme left. And he's going left. You know, he won't say, no, I'm not going to stack the courts. You know, how do you tell the electorate you're not entitled to know my opinion today? You know, of course that's what he's want to do, and you know, it's not a good idea. It's never been a good idea to stack courts. You know, so he's gone. You know, he needs to excite his base to come out and vote for him, and he needs to get those swing voters, and he needs to get the Reagan Democrats, which he's lost, and that is, that is the main reason why I think he's going to lose in a landslide, because he's went hard left, and his voters, the Democratic voters, told him, we want someone who's moderate and a centrist by picking him. You know, they told him that, and he's past his prime. He's a weak candidate, but they still picked him. Well, what does that tell you? He should have took charge of his campaign and told him, no, listen, that's not how we're going to do it. You know, I've always been moderate. I've always been centrist, and I'm going to appeal to the people that came out and put me in this position as their candidate. That's what I'm going to do. You guys get on board, or you guys go home, because I don't think he can win like this. I don't. And here's my other prediction, my other wild prediction about the presidential election. Trump's going to lose Florida. You heard it first here. He's going to lose Florida. And here's why I say that. Because especially since the pandemic, but even before, in the last few years, a lot of people have been moving out of these blue states, California, New York, and, you know, state of Washington, Minnesota, and going to Florida, where there's sunshine and no state income tax, okay? And, you know, they're leaving, you know, what they created. But they're not, you know, but they want that back in Florida. So, you know, they leave the state, you know, where they're a Democrat, but they don't register Republican. They're still Democrats, right? And you have a huge influx of people from blue states, especially over the last few months, especially from New York, of people who were like still residents in New York, and it was worth their while to be, and they had, you know, the winter home down in Florida before they flipped it. You know what? I'm moving to Florida. I'll keep an apartment here, or maybe not. Man, I won't keep an apartment here. So you have a lot more people now are Democrat in Florida, although it's been red, I think, at least since 2000. The presidential election has never gone to the Democrat. Those electoral votes have never gone to the Democrat. It's always been close. There's always been almost a 50-50 split. And even in the last governor election, you had the mayor of Pensacola, Florida, who was very, very liberal, was running against, I think it was, the guy's name is DeSantis. And DeSantis won, but not by much. You know, so, you know, I mean, you know, and I think he's doing a decent job, DeSantis, as governor of Florida. So I didn't think it should have been that close. Also, I spent some time in Florida for a week in August. I was in the Jacksonville area, and I got to tell you, I give the Florida voters a lot of credit, because there was a lot of political rallies this is in August, in the heat, for the various presidential and local candidates. People in Florida seem to be really into their politics, and I give them a lot of credit for that. You know, they're out there, they're campaigning for the politicians they support. They're rallying for them, and you would go and drive in a main street, and on one side of the street there would be Trump supporters with their Trump signs. The other side of the street there'd be Biden supporters with their signs, and I never saw any conflict. I never saw any yelling back and forth. And everyone was advocating for their side and not protesting the other side. So a lot of people in Florida vote. If you live in Florida, you better vote. You just better cast your vote, because it really means something. And anywhere, look, it even means something in let's say, California. Biden's winning California. But if you're a Republican in California, it's more important for you to vote. It's very important for everyone to vote. But if you're just like, what's my vote count? I'm not even going to go to the polls because my candidates aren't winning in this state. No, that's wrong. Because you go to the polls, and if you're a Republican in a Democrat state or a Democrat in a Republican state, you vote anyhow. Because these politicians recognize that. They see the trends. So let's say you're a Republican in California, you go vote. And yeah, Biden still wins. But there's also a lot of local elections. Who knows? Maybe a couple seats will get taken over. Congressional, local. What happens locally is very important too in your state houses. But they'll see, even if they didn't lose anything, the party that's the more popular party will be like, yeah, well, we won, but 4 years ago, we won by a margin of like 4 million votes. We only won by a margin of 2 million votes this time. Still plenty of votes, but what is it telling you? Hey, this state is going the other way. We got to be now. The government, the people in power, the popular party could swing back and say, look, you know what? We got to ratchet this back a little bit, because if this trend continues, we're going to be out of office in a few years. So you're transmitting to the people in power, whether it's on your side or not, by voting. You're transmitting to them, hey, you know what I mean? Like, we don't like, you might still be in power now. We don't like it, and then they get that feedback, and they can change if they want. They can decide, you know what? We're not necessarily serving all the people correctly. So no, all of a sudden they're going to become, if they're conservative, they're going to become liberal. If they're liberal, they're going to become conservative. No, but they could choose to better serve you if they know that a lot of people are getting fed up with what's going on, and that's part of the political process, and you need to participate in it. You need to go out and vote. Anyhow, end of this video. Wild prediction: Trump's still gonna win in a landslide, but he's gonna lose Florida. Okay, those are my two predictions. Trump in a landslide, will lose Florida. Listen, subscribe to the channel, like it, follow it. Let's see what happens. Criticize me. Criticize if I'm totally wrong, or praise me if I'm right. Come back here and laugh at me. I don't care. Keep an eye on it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to put out some more really cool content, and I really appreciate the support I'm getting. Thank you.